cycle number 1 was, it seemed like unimpressive, but we should have been grateful for what we got at the time. Our post-IVF roundup, our follow-up appointment, he really didn't have a whole lot to offer as to what he would suggest to do things differently. We would try a different protocol, obviously, because, you know, nobody really strives to get only 4 eggs. You know, they look for a lot more than that. So we went into IVF number 2. We ended up having a very long conversation somewhere in the middle of the stimulation about cancellation, because the results we were getting from my ovaries were not very good results at all. And my E2 levels, strangely enough, actually rose better than they did the first time. We just didn't have the corresponding follicles. On the day of the retrieval, we got 8 eggs, which I was just ecstatic. I mean, I was still so groggy from the anesthesia, but I could have jumped off that table and done a little dance. I was so excited. The next day, however, the embryologist called. I mean, you know, keep in mind, up until then, I thought that that we were going to have enough to get pregnant with, and then enough to have siblings with, and, you know, here I am envisioning like this whole family. And the embryologist called the next day and said, I have good news. And I was so excited. I remember I was sitting in bed and I was just so excited. He said 2 of your eggs have fertilized. And he went on to talk about, you know, with only 2, we do a 3-day transfer because, you know, we don't have to choose, we can just put these back. And, you know, he was trying to set the date and the time, but my brain just stopped at 2. At our follow-up for IVF number 2, the doctor said that my weight might be hindering the efficacy of the medication. Increased diffusion volume is what he called it. I always want to do diffusion volume because it's such a euphemism, which I guess is okay. So basically he told me that I was too fat to get pregnant, which was a little tough to swallow. I can laugh about it a little bit better now. It had just so happened, though, that the week before the follow-up appointment, I had joined Weight Watchers. I felt like my body was getting so out of my control with the fertility drugs and, you know, the retrieval and the bed rest and the whatever, that I just had to do something that took back some control over my body. And so I had joined Weight Watchers, and up till now I've gotten up to 29 pounds that I've lost, and hopefully for IVF number 3, which is coming up now in May, we'll probably start the stimulation then. Hopefully that will have made a big enough difference in the way that the medication affects things. So that's pretty much the background on IVF number 1 and 2. Hopefully that gives people some frame of reference when I discuss some of the things that are going to happen in IVF number 3. Both of my cycles were very different. IVF number 3 sort of has a strange psychology to it, because the first cycle you think to yourself, okay, we drew the big gun and this is all we're going to need and this is what's going to finally make it happen. And you can kind of steel yourself for the whole thing because you think that this is going to be it. IVF number 2, when IVF number 1 doesn't work, you can tell yourself, okay, that wasn't it, but they've learned a lot about my body and a lot about what I do and don't do and can and can't handle and what my body needs to do what it's supposed to do. So you tell yourself, IVF number 2, maybe I even have a greater chance this time than I did the first time because we know so much more about the process and how it affects me. IVF number 3, what do you say? I mean, it's not the first time. It's not the second time. And granted, they do know more about my body this time. But we also know that my body doesn't do that well with IVF. So, I mean, it's a blessing and a curse at the same time. I have a very kind friend who is all but donating some medication to me for this cycle, which is, I can't even say, appreciative doesn't quite begin to cover it. We have stretched ourselves so much financially with this IVF that it's become quite a burden psychologically, not just about whether or not we get pregnant, but it's very difficult to afford. It's very, very expensive, and medications on top of that. Anyway, I just really appreciate the help with the medication. It is really going to help a lot, and it means a lot to have that. So, if you're watching, thank you. So that's pretty much it. Like I said, next up, protocol discussion. So, this is my video blog, and tune in for the next installment.